It seems like every day we're hearing about new announcements of projects that are being pushed back, like this one from Variety, where they're saying Spider-Man is being pushed back. Same with Kraven the Hunter, Ghostbusters sequel, and we've already heard Disney make their announcements that basically the whole MCU is being pushed back another year, and a lot of it is blaming the strikes that are going on, and I think that is legitimate because obviously if you're in production or whatever, I mean, you can't really say what's going to happen with this. So, I mean, this is kind of delaying everything, and it's a trickle down effect from this. And then there's also the projects that are like the Marvels, that's already done and ready to go, but they want to make sure their actors can actually do the press junket and stuff for it and red carpet. So that's fair if they decide to push that back. I'm not saying the Marvels is being pushed back. I know that's been talked about. So as far as I know right now, it's still slated for release in November, but who knows? There was still talk about them delaying that. But that's also for the ones that are like big movies like this where they've either shot most of it or shot a bunch of it, or maybe it's already done. But what about the ones that are kind of in the pre-production phase, where maybe just the announcement? We have this right now where it's saying like studios can actually invoke a clause in the contract that allows them to basically just say like, you know what, no, we're not going to do that deal after all. So jumping down into the article, decision makers could begin ending these pacts as soon as next week, said insiders from both the creative community and their corporate counterparts. Many of these deals were suspended only a week into the strike in May by producers including Amazon, HBO, Warner Brothers TV, NBC Universal, Disney, NBC or CBS Studios. The writer strike is also rapidly approaching the 90-day mark when historically deal makers have the option to kill agreements in the face of an act of God. The common show business interpretation for how the phrase force majeure applies to these types of labor shutdowns. In other words, whenever you pull out of a contract, the party that's pulling out of the contract has to incur some type of penalty for it. But with the force majeure clause or the act of God interpretation of it, that basically means like the studios are like, you know what, we signed these deals with you. We couldn't foresee a strike going on. And since it went on and it's delaying these, we have the right to be able to pull out of these contracts without incurring any penalties for it. And that's actually true. They can. And a lot of people are starting to notice that right now too. So the question is, what are they actually going to pull out of? Because a lot of the times they've been saying like, they've since come out and said like, we're trying to be more selective on what we're producing. Bob Iger literally said that not too long ago, where they're wanting to be a little bit more selective on what they're going to produce in the future. And they've already announced a lot of things coming up. So I can see them kind of looking at it right now when they're not producing anything, just kind of being collective and saying like, okay, what do we want to make moving forward? Because we've seen some of the stuff that we've done and we're seeing what's ahead of us. And right now we can kind of look at what's ahead of us and say like, do we really need this? Do we want this now? And this is actually an opportunity for them to say, like, you know what, no, let's just pull this out. Because this is probably going to be a bad idea. This wasn't a good bet. So let's move on. And that's why we're getting rumors like this. Now, this isn't confirmed by any stretch right now. And when it says it's delayed indefinitely, that means or put on hold indefinitely, that just means they don't know when they're going to resume with it. But I could see with Witcher season 4 and 5, because those were already greenlit by Netflix in the past, they might be looking at the season and say like, you know what, do we really want to continue with it? Because a lot of those contracts were signed before Henry Cavill departed, and the studio would agreeing to the show, and then what the showrunners do with the casting and stuff like that are not necessarily the same thing. So Netflix could have said, yeah, you get season 4 and 5, and then you get the producers of the show saying like, okay, buy Henry Cavill. And then with that backlash that we're seeing, that's a resultant in a 50% drop off and these low ratings or low reviews for the show. So then Netflix is like, wait, hold on. You're getting rid of the star that everyone liked after we approved you for a couple more seasons. So they look at this opportunity with the writer strike going on and be like, you know what? No, let's just get rid of it after all. We don't need enough, because I mean, The Witcher is an expensive show to produce for them. And if it's not going to take in the audience that they need to actually make it profitable, they could say like, well, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. And these strikes are giving them the ammo to do that. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel though, just to stay up to date with this in case it does, because I will report on this, because I do find it interesting that they could just decide to cancel the show as a result of what's going on with this. And of course, the studio will just blame the strikes that are going on and be like, oh, it wasn't our decision. The strikes just kind of ended this. But in all honesty, if the show was very profitable, they would have found a way to make it work. But if it's not doing good, then they're going to find any excuse they can to cancel it and incur as little wrath onto themselves as possible. So that's probably what's going to happen, but we'll have to see. But make sure you click that like button if you do like this video and stay up to date with what's going on. And I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.